Hello, my name is Paul-Beckett, and today I wanted to kind of pick up where I left off with another video, which a lot of people have reached out over. So it's obviously something that is kind of resonating with people, and it's back to our old friend, the ego, or I prefer to say the character. Um, so, little catch up. Remember, the person you've presented yourself as in the world is just a character, and it's a character that was kind of semi projected on you from social economic backgrounds, parents' expectations, race, gender, all of that. And then the rest of the character you put together yourself. And you pick little bits up here and there, or your likes or your dislikes, your experiences, molded the character that you're playing. And some of us played characters which probably fairly easy to play in the scheme of things, and some of us are playing really difficult characters because of the life experiences and just what you've come in contact with. So, I don't mean that to sound light-hearted by saying we're all just a character, let it go, because I understand that uh, that's going to be easier said than done. But if realizing my true nature taught me one thing, it was that I was never that character that I was playing. Um, so where do you go from there? It's a funny one because if there's one addiction that the world is literally suffering from en masse, it's the addiction to judgment. And that starts primarily with ourselves. We judge ourselves for everything. Everything. I didn't do that right, or what about this, or what about this time I did this. So, because the judgment of ourselves is so heavy, we make ourselves feel better by externalizing that. Oh, well, if I'm doing all this stuff, what about you over there? I'm going to judge you. So, we're addicted not only to judging ourselves, but also to judging others, because that kind of lets the imagined self off a little bit. You're not the only one who's getting things wrong. Do you know what I mean? And do you know what? From my perspective now, it's such an innocent mistake. But in the thick of it, I remember totally how that felt. Self judgment, casting my judgment out at everyone else. Of course, the more judgment you cast out, the more you expect that others are also judging you the same way. So it's really a nasty little game that we've got ourselves in involved in. But once I'd self-realized, I no longer identified with the Paul character. It sounds funny to say because my name's still Paul. I'm still surrounded by people who knew me as that, know me now. But I just stopped identifying with all of Paul's stuff, all the things that kind of held me back, all the limiting beliefs, all the nasty habits, because there were many. There were absolutely so many. Do you know what I mean? We need to stop judging ourselves if we've got like any hope of moving on and moving on in any kind of positive way. You need to let go. You need to let go of everything you're holding against yourself. Because remember, what you're judging isn't yourself. It's just this imaginary character that you were playing. And this character was literally put together by a sleepwalker wearing a blindfold with amnesia in a dark room. Like, that's the equivalent to what this reality is like, okay? Of course it wasn't perfect. How could it ever be? It was put together in error. The error was putting this character together in the first place, so it was never going to be perfect. So all the messiness of our characters, all of the judgments that we throw on ourselves for past experiences, for our emotions, for the way we felt, for the way other people have made us feel. Because remember, guilt and shame are another, like, it's like our favorite game to play. Do you know what I mean? Offering shame to others feels so good, and the reason it feels so good is because we feel so guilty about our own selves. But once you realize I was just playing a little game there, that character was never ever me. It's easy to find that compassion, to be like, okay, I mightn't let it go all at once, even. That might be too much to ask. I, I mightn't be able to release all of these things which I'm holding myself accountable for, but I can get this little bit of distance there. This little bit of distance that's just like, that was not me. It never was. It never was. What you are, what your true nature is pristine. It's innocent. It's never ever had the stain of anything that you might hold against yourself in this lifetime, and God knows how many lifetimes before this. Your true nature has never been stained by any of that. And so when I realized my true nature, I felt this is where the term like to be born again must come from, because I literally felt like I took off this big dirty overcoat that I'd been wearing and gone, oh, like, God, that was never me. All of that really heavy stuff, all of those things that I was ashamed about, all those things I felt guilty about, all of the things that I felt were lacking or weren't good enough, as well as the nice things. Like, my character had so many nice qualities, but nothing compared to what I know myself to be, which is just pure love, pure compassion, pure creativity, and with that comes pure peace. So when we're looking back, because the past is so addictive also, isn't it? It's another major human addiction. We look back to the past all the time, so we don't let it die. We drag the past into the present moment all of the time, and that includes every perceived mistake you've made, and we've all made a million mistakes. God, if we're not here to make mistakes, suffering from this case of amnesia, then I don't know what we are here for. And so that got me thinking, well, that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to experience imperfection, to realize that's never me. I am perfect. But we need to almost experience what we're not in order to be able to see what we are and to really truly appreciate that. So it comes back like that prodigal son story. You know, like, he was a prince, he had everything, but he left the palace. He left the palace, he squandered all his wealth, or he thought he did, and he forgot who he was until one day one of his father sent messages out looking for him, brought him home, and when he got home, he realised he'd never lost a thing. He was welcomed back with love. Now, Christian stories like that can be quite triggering for a lot of us, me included, because I had that same traumatic Christian upbringing that I think a lot of us might identify with. I went to a convent school, I was taught by nuns, and I grew up just thinking, this is not we've got this wrong somehow. We've got this wrong somehow because we're saying this is all about love, yet we're not showing this unconditional love. It's all about love so long as it's you, and you, but the rest of you, no, not really. This idea of sin, oh God, the biggest mistake we ever made was believing in sin. It's no such thing. We're not going to be held to some kind of judgment. How could you be? There's only you. There's only you. I am is me. It's you. It's every other being in this universe. There's nothing on the outside of us to judge us. So the only judgment can come from the self, and we're doing that every single day. You don't need to wait till you die for a man with a big white beard to kind of judge you, because you are doing a fantastic job of that every single day of your life. So what is sin then? It's a mistake. It's an error. It's just a little error. So in the same way that if you were, you've got a small child or something like that, and they make mistakes, of course they do while they're learning. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you might want to keep them from, you might have to shout because you don't want them to hurt themselves or blah, blah, blah. But what you're really trying to do is just gently correct them. No, it's okay. It's okay. You've made this. It's just a little mistake. Nothing to worry about. Doesn't mean anything moving forward. You can forget about it right here. But next time you'll get it a little bit better. The time after that you might make another mistake. But don't worry, because the time after that you'll be a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And once I realised that, I realised I had no reason to ever judge myself, but also to ever like try and cast judgment on another self. Because all we're doing is blundering around in the dark, making mistakes. And some mistakes can appear worse than others. Listen, horrific things happen in this human world from a human perspective, but this world it's kind of like a thin little curtain with a scene painted on it. It's so superficial. It's so not real. It's a dream. The real world, which is, you know, our spirits, the spirit world, everything that surrounds us, but we just can't perceive with these senses, is so alive, so vivid, and it's not transient. It's not passing. There's no life and death. It's eternal. So actually what we're doing here is like, it's like almost being in like a dream. It's like being in a little simulation. But I could go to sleep tonight and I could have a dream where I got up to all kinds. I got up to terrible things. When I wake up in the morning, do I hold myself accountable for that dream? Do I hold on to that and go, oh, I can't forgive myself? What I dreamt about last night, I cannot forgive myself for that. Of course I don't. I just say, it was a dream, it meant nothing. And that's kind of, even though it can be hard to see from some perspectives, that's what this reality is. We've chosen to be here to have this experience, to have the experience of feeling like we are what we're not, feeling like we're imperfect, feeling all of these things which are just so alien to our true nature, so we can wake up and go, no, I now that I've felt that, because before this I was in a place of perfection, I couldn't imagine what it felt like to feel imperfect. The thought couldn't occur to me. I couldn't understand it. So I need to come to this little funny dream world to experience imperfection, to actually go, no, this isn't real. This isn't me. So I understand that to a lot of people, perhaps hearing this, who haven't gone through self-realization, that's a tall ask. I can understand, because you get caught up in the day-to-day life, in this is going wrong, that's going wrong, and life can be difficult. Of course it can. I'm living in the same world as you. Do you know what I mean? It's just my perspective has changed. I know how difficult this reality is. Of course I know that. But that shift in perspective, you wouldn't believe how much it actually changes your external. Since self-realization with me, and it's an ongoing journey with me, by the way, because the character Paul feels like a really familiar, comfy slipper. And sometimes I can slip myself right back in there, and without even realizing that I've done it. But here's the thing, that slipper might look really familiar and comfortable, but as soon as you've got it on, you realize there's holes in the sole, they're leaking, they're letting in stones. It does not feel nice to wear. So I can catch myself now when I do slip into that kind of playing the character of Paul again. I can go, oh, something's not right, and it doesn't feel right. From the sense of being that I have now, from what I feel like so grateful and so blessed to have as my everyday kind of consciousness, to fall back into being the small I, to fall back into being the Paul character again. It doesn't take me long to realize, hang on a minute, something's not right here. I don't feel expansive. I don't feel joyful. I feel like I'm playing small. I feel like all these things which haven't been getting on top of me for, you know, a long time now, all of a sudden seem very big and very solid and very threatening. So it's easy for me to kick that little slipper off, to just see that, hang on a minute, I'm doing that thing again. I'm playing Paul. So the point of this, why am I telling you this? Because I get you could be listening to this going, oh, that's all well and good for you, but I'm still very much rooted in this character and I can't see anything else. Well, I just want you to try, and if you are watching this, maybe you must have an interest, or if this is finding you must have an interest in this. Can you suspend your disbelief? Can you have the faith to know that what you are is untouched, is perfect, is pristine, is completely innocent? Okay? Like an actor. If an actor goes on a stage and plays a real villain of a character, he doesn't then come off the stage and judge himself by the actions of that character that he played, because he knows it was just make-believe. So that's how I feel very, very much now about the Paul character. God, he made so many mistakes. He hurt people. He hurt himself. And you know what? Let it go. Let it go. I've apologized for things, because as part of my release process, it was almost like I wouldn't let myself release it properly without apologizing, and without giving myself then permission to move on with that. So that is something I've done. I don't think it was like necessary all the time, but it allowed me, because even afterwards, I've got this beautiful realization. I know my true nature, but it's so easy to be drawn back in, to be drawn back into that funny little game, because I've played it, for 44 years. I played the character of Paul. Do you know what I mean? It's only been knocking on to a year now that I've got like that privilege of not playing him anymore. So think about, what do you think makes you up? What are the core elements that make up your character? So that might be some really nice things, but it's also going to be some things that you're not proud of. And they're the things that we bury, aren't we? We don't show anyone that part. But look at it and think, if I am the one infinite being, which you are, whether you know it or not now, you are that. Can I be these things which I've wrote down here? Can I be that? Nope. So do I need to take that forward? Do I need to let these beliefs that I am those things inform my future actions? Which is then just put me in situations for me to judge myself on further. So have a little think about it. Have a little think, and I know it's easier said than done. I know that. I'm not saying this like you're going to be like, well, but this is here for you now. You don't need to live another 10 lifetimes. You don't need to go and read a million books. You don't need to go and live in an ashram. You don't need to get a guru. You don't need anything like that. Your true nature is here right now because it's never left. All it's done is been clouded by this idea of who you think you are. Okay? So I hope this has resonated with someone. And if there's one takeaway from this, it's treat yourself with kindness, treat yourself with compassion, okay? Because when you treat yourself with that, you will naturally give that to other people and you'll naturally receive it. That is the plot twist. What I give, I get back. So it's not about me grabbing in the world anymore. This is mine, I need this, I feel lacking. It's about me giving. And when I give kindness, when I give compassion, when I don't hold other people to judgment, I realize, actually, I've just completely absolved myself of all of that stuff. So, worth doing. Listen, worth doing if that can work for you. But thanks very much for watching. I love you.